Yo guys, what is going on? Got an exciting video today. So we actually have gotten a banned and restricted card announcement from Bandai themselves this morning. So if you go on their website, I'll have this in the link in the description below, and click on their announcement that they've got. They've actually made some additions to our ban and restriction list, as well as the first ever ban card in the history of the card game so far. Okay, so there's a couple of cards to talk about, and then some differences between how it's happening in the English TCG versus the Japanese TCG, and then we'll also just kind of talk about like why exactly were these cards hit in the first place, and like how is that relevant to our metagame. So first of all, this is going to be effective for us February 25th, 2022, which falls in line of Bandai's pre-release for BT7. Okay, so if all goes well, these first set of cards will be in place, like the restrictions will be in place when we get BT7. So for the first card here, and obviously the most notorious on this list, I think, is Mega Digimon Fusion. Okay, this is the first ban card we've ever gotten in the Digimon TCG, and for good reasons. Okay, this card lets you cheat 6 memory in a single turn for absolutely 0 cost. The only real restriction being that you need to have a white source on field. Okay, so they actually give an explanation for why each card was actually hit on the list, which I really appreciate. Okay, Bandai, keep doing your thing. This is really solid for as far as lists go. Okay, so they say that BT7 Suzanomon is a level 7 Digimon that can digivolve from a tamer, allowing you to use this card without the need for a level 6 Digimon, speeding up the metagame, restricting viable decks, etc., etc. As such, we decided to ban this card many games and in early to mid-game fashion, simply by using this card to digivolve into a finisher. So restricting this card will not be enough to fix this issue, which I completely agree with. Most yellow hybrid decks only ran like 1 or 2 copies of this card, so restricting it would not really do enough in my opinion. Seems like Bandai agrees, so they decided to outright ban this card. Not only is it just broken in yellow hybrid, like that deck specifically. Of course, we've seen it in success and things like Lilith Loop as well, but I think yellow hybrid really breaks the mold for it, and it's a little bit weird for us because we don't have like the yellow hybrid cards yet in the English TCG. So some of these hits might seem a little bit weird to us because we don't really know maybe what the cards can do yet. So just to give you guys context, yellow hybrid comes out in BT7. It's a very powerful deck, a deck that draws through all of its resources, recovers a lot of its resources, and really just goes into hybrids to put on pressure after playing the tamers from Free Off of Security or Rise Greymon, stuff like that. And then when you're done, you can just digivolve into Suzanomon from a tamer for free via this card. Suzanomon lets you put 10 cards that are hybrids and or tamers from your trash back to the bottom of your deck, so it really prevents you from decking out, puts all your resources back. You evolve into a 15,000 beater for free that checks 3 cards and deletes an opponent's Digimon, and then he goes back to the bottom of your deck so that you can use Mega Digimon Fusion again at a later point in the game. It is just an absolutely completely unfair card in that deck, and not only that, but I think it also does restrict level 7 design in the future. Okay, so basically every time Bandai makes a new like good level 7, they have to think to themselves like, hey, is this too broken with Mega Digimon Fusion? Like, is this too broken because that card exists? So I really think it's just best for this game if this card just doesn't exist. Like, as much as I like it, and I'm a little bit sad that it's getting axed before we get a chance to utilize it fully in the English TCG, it definitely should not be in the game. Okay, so that's enough on Mega Digimon Fusion. But yeah, so that will be effective on February 25th. And then the other cards that will be restricted for us, that's the only banned card. The first one is Reinforcing Memory Boost. So I do agree with this completely, especially if you look at Japan's format, because again, some of these might not make the most sense in context of the Set 6 EX1 format that English TCG is currently in. But this card does way too many things. It lets you recover one. It lets you cycle through the top 2 cards of your deck, choosing which card you want to recover. Most of the time, you will get either a Zwart Defeat or a Powerful Option card. If you're playing this in Security Control, which of course you're pretty much only playing this in Security Control, Yellow Hybrid, or they actually give more reason as to the D-Reaper deck in the JP format, which again, we're not getting for a while, but I do agree that this card is just way too good on so many levels. And then of course, course, gaining 3 memory. So it's realistically like you're paying 3 memory to recover one, but not only recover one, you're choosing what you recover. So just having 4 copies of this was easily like the best card in any security control list. And it just makes it so that those decks had an unfair like power card, I think, at a 4-up. At a 1-up, I think it's fine. Like, you just get your 1 and done, and you get to stack your security, that's it. But you don't have to deal with continuous recovering and memory gaining, the continuous stacking of like blowout option cards and stuff like that. So yeah, like they said, this is considerably more powerful than the other memory boost cards, especially when used in specialized decks like non-yellow multicolor decks and D-Reaper decks. It's too powerful to left unchecked, and decided to restrict it to 1, which I definitely agree with. And then this other card here, okay, so then we have EX168, which is Icewall. Okay, so though performing as intended as a defensive card, using it every turn results in a lock situation that negatively impacts the speed of games. The resulting unenjoyable play patterns outweigh the benefits of the card effect, so you decided to restrict it to 1 copy per deck. I completely agree with this. I don't think Icewall needed to be banned. I also don't think reinforcing memory boost needed to be banned. Okay, so because we haven't had that many banned or restricted cards, I think people's like expectations when it comes to completely getting rid of a card are a little bit unrealistic. So if you think back to like the last restricted update we got was HBD and Argomon level 5, those cards going to 1 single-handedly like make green like not a tier 1 or tier like 0.5 deck. Okay, so like you could argue that putting HBD to 1 effectively had the same effect as like banning it, because it basically dropped from the meta, maybe not from like a 1.5 and set 4 format, of course not, but like from like our current meta and kind of just the way things are going, that like sets constantly check themselves. Green is not like a super overpowered color, right? You see their 1 HPD, you're like, okay, that's fine, you have your power play, but back in JP format, when this card existed alongside Hercules Kabuterimon, alongside that Kabuterimon, which we actually never got in the English TCG, because I believe it was limited right as 1.5 was coming out, or like the week after, so I think we got like a week of like full powered Seriesmon, but you never got to play with Hercules at full capacity. That like putting it to 1 was just enough. So Icewall, I think, is the same situation where like I can deal with 1 Icewall. 1 Icewall is not a big deal, but when your opponent like double, triple Icewalls you in a turn, or like double Icewalls you back to back, you're losing games that you shouldn't be losing, and it's an unfair card, especially because when you memory choke them, or even if you have a memory tame round, they double Icewall you, your turn passes, right? Letting that happen is just completely unfair. Okay, so I do think it's a really, really nice hit. And then now, that is it for the cards that are, limited and banned as far as when we get BT7 pre-release. The other set of cards, it says effective on April 2020 at the time of BT8 pre-release. Okay, so for these cards, there are no banned, but we do have restricted cards. So we've got BT615, and we got Savior Hackmon here. Okay, so I know a lot of Jessamon stands are a little bit upset about this one, and at first glance, it does seem a bit unwarranted, but you got to think about it like this, okay? Jessamon has always been like a high roll deck, and it continuously gets better at like more support further on. Like look at BT7, we get the new Hackmon, we get more Sistermons. So this deck, right? This deck, I've always thought it's a little bit crazy that it's one of the only decks that can like truly OTK in this game. It like for real can put you down from 5 to 0 security cards and game you in the same turn, okay? And you really don't have a lot of ways to dealing with it, because they can just hide in their breeding area. Okay, like there are counters for sure. You got Rebellion, you got Sakuyamon. There's definitely things you can do against Jessamon, especially in the BT6 format. But moving on to the other formats, this card just allows you to do ridiculous plays that realistically you shouldn't be allowed to do, okay? Being able to unsuspend, like play double Sistermon, attacking 2 unsuspended Digimon, delicate planning your opponent's security stack, it just takes out like every aspect of playing a defensive strategy in Digimon. You can't even block this guy because Jessamon gets piercing. So you really just can't do anything except sit and watch them as they go through your whole security stack. So I think at 1, like, Jessamon is definitely not a dead deck. I do think it's a little bit harsh of a restriction, but I still think even with 1 Savior Hackmon, like, the deck is good enough, and if you see the 1, then you're pretty much going for game, but if you don't, I mean, you've got other stuff to work with. So then as far as I believe this is the last card, yeah, so this is the last card on the restricted list. This is Eismann, so it is a BT7 card, and they tell you that using Eismann as well as Scatter mode in tandem makes it easier than anticipated to cycle through your deck while playing Digimon to your battle area for free. Therefore, we decide to restrict this card to 1 copy per deck. And I completely agree. If you take a look at basically any purple deck, like post BT7, they basically all run Eismann and Eismann Scatter mode because it is just such a powerful engine to let you discard cards and go through your deck. Scatter mode lets you draw 3, discard 2, and then of course being able to play multiple level 4s for free as soon as you just have like a single scatter mode in your trash is really, really crazy. It's gonna get especially worse when we get like the purple hybrid cards, and then when we get the Impmon cards in the X2, and then just like basic, like I said, every purple strategy just turbos through the deck, you draw all your resources, and it is a little bit unfair that you get to just play, like, spit out a bunch of Eismons on the field for free. So I think this hit slows down the deck just a little bit, but not enough to where it is like hindered, because you still have your draw engine. That was like the main portion. This was just like the icing on top, but you still have got your 1 copy of Eismann, which realistically you'll probably see in most games because you're drawing like 20 cards every single turn. So yeah, guys, that is it as far as the new restrictions and limited goes. So just to recap, our current restricted cards, new restricted cards as far as 25th of February goes, and then we got our new first ban card, and then our BT8 pre-release limited card. So guys, that is going to do it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully that gave you a more clear reason as to why these cards have been hit. And if you do have thoughts on the ban list, please let me know down in the comments below. As far as my thoughts, I personally think this is like I think this is a really good ban list. Okay, I think they hit Mega Digimon Fusion. That was the main problem card. They hit Icewall and Reinforcing Boost. Those cards were a little bit unfair as far as how much value they generated for you. And then some other future-proofing cards as far as the pre-release BT8 restrictions go. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.